This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeff Malinoff, and with me is Mark Souza. Hope everyone had a great weekend. We got a lot to talk about in the world of sports, especially the divisional round matchups in the AFC and NFC. Who's in the AFC title game? Who's in the NFC title game? We'll talk about that. And we'll also talk about the NBA and some other things in the news, such as maybe even Hugh Jackson's firing from Cincinnati and Machado's deal he's been offered by Chicago White Sox. But let's get into it. We'll talk about the AFC first. We'll talk about the first AFC game that happened on Saturday between the Colts and the Chiefs. Or were the Colts even there?
They took a while to get off the bus, I believe.
Yeah. The first half was all Chiefs. I mean, Mahomes looked like he was the man. Like, I understand, it was like everyone, they talked about how many people got tattoos of Patrick Mahomes in the pregame show and all that stuff. And I was like, that's a little much. Then you watch him play, and it's like, I get it.
You were waiting for the avalanche to begin.
I was waiting for an Andy Reid moment.
Right. So
I think everybody
saw the blocked punt for a touchdown, you were probably here it is.
I saw that coming a mile away. As soon as he hiked the ball, I'm like, he's not going to get this off. And then he blocks it right in the end zone. I'm like, that might be a huge difference maker. It wasn't.
Yep.
It was just
very
a
disappointing game as the Colts, maybe the hottest team in the NFL coming into the game, they didn't put up much of a fight.
What was that final score? You got it right there?
31-13. It was never really close.
Mahomes acting like the playoffs were just a regular season game. Like, usually you find out if this guy's ready for the postseason because it's completely different. But he was ready for it. He was absolutely ready for it.
The Colts couldn't even get any first downs. It took them forever. I mean, they punt the ball 3 and out right away. Chiefs score. They punt the ball 3 and out again. Chiefs score. They punt the ball again.
It was
field goal.
Yeah. It was just there was no offense. Andrew Luck looked struggling. Everyone on the offensive side. Marlon Mack did not look like the man he was last week against the Texans. And Eric Ebron and T.Y. Hilton were struggling. Like, everyone was struggling on that offensive side against a defense that we said was not very good, and I'm still standing by that fact. But, man, they really stepped up. The defense stepped up their game.
So we talked about how awesome the Colts' offensive line has been all season, especially in the last few games as the spotlight of the playoffs has turned. And that offensive line got pushed around by a Chiefs below-average defensive line.
And we said that's the best offensive line in the league.
Yeah.
And I believe it still is. It just they just weren't there. Do you think they weren't ready? Maybe it was the cold?
I had an interesting perspective. So I was watching the game with a couple people, but one person I was watching it with is a football fan, but more of a casual fan, doesn't watch every Sunday, does have a favorite team, knows who the big names are and things like that, but we're watching the game. And he says to me in the third quarter, man, this Colts offensive line is just getting pushed around. And I was like,
that's a statement.
That's a very interesting thing to come from you. That really shows how bad the Colts were in a matchup where everybody thought they were going to absolutely control the football game by running the ball, keeping all pass rushers away from Andrew Luck. And how many times did Andrew Luck get a pass knocked down? It seemed like every time he threw the ball, there was a Chiefs player touched the ball. Like, every single time he threw the ball, a Chiefs guy touched the ball. And it wasn't even just
like the corners. The defensive line was touching that ball a bunch of times. And, your friend saying that, and how much we've been praising, and how much the whole NFL, like everyone has been praising that offensive line, really shows that they just either they weren't ready or it was the atmosphere. I don't know. Do you think it was the cold that played a factor? Because it was pretty cold over there. There was snow at the beginning of the game, and it kind of went away by the end of the game. But overall, I would say
I feel like when it comes to weather in the NFL, that 9 times out of 10 it's overblown. Like, yeah, it's cold. Like, it sucks, right? And one team is a dome team, and one team
that's
plays
another
outside.
Thing I was about to ask, the dome versus a open.
But
stadium.
at the same time, like, how many games a year do the Chiefs actually play when it's like this? 2, maybe 3. And then the Colts, they might play a game or 2 like that too. I mean, they play in the AFC where they play, teams like Buffalo Bills. Like, they don't have to be the home team. They can be the away team and play in weather and things like that. I just think that I don't think the weather was a factor at all, to be honest with you, especially because it wasn't snowing during the game. I mean, they had the field heaters going.
Yeah.
I think it was just the Chiefs were better coached, and they came out with a better game plan. And Andy Reid, for all his faults, he had his team ready to play. And after a bye week, we talk about it all the time. A lot of times it takes a team, especially like the Chiefs, who are like a well-oiled machine, it can take them time to get in the rhythm. Maybe the first quarter is more of like warm-up for them. They're not fully in the game, but you have to give them credit. Andy Reid had that team ready on both sides of the ball from the whistle. I mean, that team came out, special teams, they get a tackle like inside the 20-yard line, first play of the game, 3 and out, score on the next time they get the ball, boom, 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 boom. They were ready to play.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I talked about this probably the whole season, that Andy Reid is one of those guys that is very untrustworthy when it comes to clinching situations and that kind of thing. But he was ready. I think he was like, I'm not losing again. I think he's like had enough. You know what I mean? I think it was like last year when they were up 21-3 and they blew that lead. I think that was like the last straw almost that broke the camel's back for him. And he's like, there's no playing around. I need to win this. And maybe Patrick Mahomes was a big wake up call to him as well, and how well he's been playing. And obviously, I believe that Patrick Mahomes is going to be MVP. It's closer to him and Drew Brees, but I think Mahomes is going to take it just based off of 50 touchdowns alone. And you look at the Colts, and by the way, they had a great season. Frank Reich, for his first season, did a great job.
Oh yeah, they started off 1-5. They ended 10-6.
Yeah, that's
he's a candidate for Coach of the Year.
I would agree. So
we have to say he might not win, but he is a
I'm
candidate.
thinking Andy Reid's probably going to get it though.
I mean,
maybe McVay. Nah.
Right now, you got to think it's Andy Reid's up there for sure, but Anthony Lynn's probably up there too. We got to give him credit too. But absolutely, Frank Reich has to be up there.
He seems so unqualified going into the season.
And the job wasn't even supposed to be his. It was supposed to be Josh McDaniels.
That's right. And then he left, or he joined and then said no.
And it looks like that was a blessing in disguise for the Colts.
Yeah, but who knows what would have happened if he joined?
Sure.
Like we don't know what the outcome would have been. But obviously, the Colts are a future contender for sure. Like
we'll talk about their future
later on. But but for the Chiefs' sake, if anyone's going to beat the Patriots in the AFC title game, it was going to be the Chiefs. And this is the biggest matchup for the Chiefs because what we saw with the Patriots play in that game, we'll talk about right now.
So what was the biggest of the Colts Chiefs game, though? What was the play or what was the moment in the game when it happened you're like, okay, this game is over? Like, this game has reached its limit. Like, the Colts were behind. I thought maybe they could put some together, but after this happened, I can't see them winning.
Well, like, in their third possession, they scored another touchdown. And, like, when it was, like, 21-7, I was like, they're not coming back from this. Because you see the Colts been playing, and it's just, like, the entire game, it looked like it felt over. Like, from the first quarter, as soon as they were throwing touchdowns, like, no one was stopping the Chiefs.
Yeah, for me, when it was 24-7, Patrick Mahomes scored that scramble. It's 24-7. I'm thinking the Colts, if they can score, they give themselves a chance because the Chiefs are going to get the ball at the start of the second half. So It's like you have to score. You can't go in without points, down 17, and then the other team gets the ball. They get all the way down there, and Vinatieri misses a 23-yard field goal.
The miss, I remember the miss. That was
the shortest miss of his career. Cold weather kicker. When you think cold weather kicker, you think Adam Vinatieri.
And in the snow, or snow, quote unquote,
in weather, in cold,
and he missed it bad too.
He misses that. He misses an extra point too in the game.
Yeah, it was just is it time for him to retire type of feel?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
He's earned enough goodwill where he could come back and play.
Did you see Charles Woodson's post during that game?
When he said,
now you miss in the snow. I thought that was very humorous. I was just like, oh, yeah.
If they score on that position, I still don't think they win based on how they played in the second half. But like,
so it would have been 10 to 24 to 10?
It would have been 24-10, and I'm not saying they would have won the game if they make it, but how deflating is it to go down the field? You've been getting your butt kicked all game long. We finally get down there. Okay, we don't get a touchdown, but hey, we can get this field goal. We go down 2 scores. Against the Chiefs, 2 scores is a lot. You don't want to be in that position, but it gives you a breathing chance. Going down 3 scores on the road in a playoff game, no.
As soon as the first half was done, I said as well, this game's over. But even before that field goal miss, I was like, even though they're playing like they're driving down the field, I'm like, the Chiefs are just going to score again. Like this team, it was so deflating.
It was so deflating that they are still down 24-7. Yeah, the second half. They played a little better, but you could see the Chiefs took their foot off the gas a little bit. It's just human nature. I know when you're watching games, you're like, don't stop scoring, don't stop playing.
It's more of a respect thing.
Well, it's also just like you're going to start running the ball more. You start valuing first downs over touchdowns a little bit more because you want to just move the clock. And
just get the game over with.
Yeah. So, the Colts don't score until a little over halfway left of the fourth quarter. Nobody scores until that point in the game. T.Y. Hilton from Andrew Luck, but pretty unbelievable that the game was over that early in the game by a road team who came out against the Texans so
and
quick.
Dominated them.
Mm-hmm.
Like Marlon Mack, like we said, 148 yards last week, and this game, not even close to that number, obviously. Not even close to 100 yards, for that matter. And let alone, just no one showed up for this game. We expected Eric Hebron to have maybe a couple touchdowns, T.Y. Hilton to have a big game. No one had a big game. Mm-hmm. This was just very disappointing. But, like we said, Chiefs moving on to the AFC title game. And now we move on to the other AFC divisional round matchup, the Chargers and Patriots, where we both said the Chargers, didn't we?
Yeah, we both actually had the Colts winning, and we both got that one wrong. No, I had the Patriots winning.
You had the Patriots winning?
Mm-hmm.
I thought we both. I had the Chargers winning. How wrong I was.
You took the Chargers winning 38 to 21.
I didn't expect them to just dominate. First 3 possessions, 3 touchdowns.
I had the Patriots winning by a field goal, so I didn't. I
don't think anyone expected the Patriots to blow them out like they did. This Chargers team, one of the best seasons the Chargers have ever had. 12-4, absolutely great. And again, this Patriot team just makes them look like they were an 8-8 team. We
saw Bill Belichick outcoach Anthony Lynn 3 times over yesterday.
And Anthony Lynn. That's being generous.
The Chargers thought that they were going to be able to play the same defense that they played on Lamar Jackson with 7 DBs on the field. And what did the Patriots do? They pummeled them with the run game into submission. Belichick said, you're going to have 7 DBs on the field. We're just going to run the ball right up the middle. And then not only that, we're just going to throw the ball to James White for 4 or 5 yards every play. And that's exactly what they did. James White.
15 receptions?
15 receptions. He had no carries. He's a running back. No carries. Not one. You know how many people touched the ball running the football yesterday for the Patriots? 6 people. None of them were James White. Michelle, Burkhead, Edelman, Devlin, Patterson, and even Brady had a carry. That's it. No one else had a carry. Or James White didn't have a carry.
That's absurd.
But he had 15 receptions for 97 yards, 6.5 yards per reception.
And speaking of running back, Sonny Michel.
We've talked about the Patriots, and they're the best at this. Death by a million paper cuts. The offensive game plan, you could tell in the first drive, Edelman, 5 yards on 3rd and 5. They need 6. They get 6. They need 4 yards on this carry. 4. They need 3. They need 5. 5. Every play, they just execute.
Is it the team or is it the coaching that got them? Is it Josh McDaniels or is it Tom Brady?
It's a collection. You got Tom Brady, who is arguably the best quarterback to ever play the game.
Right.
Love him, hate him. The dude is a machine when it comes to playoff time.
There's
guy
something about it, yeah.
He just, like I said, if you need 5, he'll get you 5.
Right.
If you need 6, he'll get you 6.
And the question for me to you right now is once the Patriots give McDaniels the keys, which we're all assuming that's going to happen, and Brady's gone. Can he still work this offense into what they're doing now?
I don't think so.
No?
No, because I saw him coach a Broncos team. And first and foremost, whatever you think about McDaniels as a play caller is whatever, but he put his faith and his career on the line for Tim Tebow as a quarterback.
He did trade up and draft Tim Tebow. People don't remember that.
And
that
Tim Tebow is a great guy, but one of the most fundamentally flawed prospects that the NFL has seen.
How often was that debate between like Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith about this guy? This guy took over the news just like there was 50-50. No, everyone saw his intangibles, like they all were flawed, and everyone saw his clutch gene or something that everyone says he had. But in reality, and then what did he do? He played the Patriots, I think, after that win in overtime and got stomped on.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and they beat the Steelers in that overtime game.
Yeah,
Demaryius Thomas.
And people were like, he what a clutch performance by Tim Tebow. It was like a 5-yard slant to Demaryius Thomas, who ran it 80 yards.
The NFL is a league that, yes, you want to have the determination. You need to have that in your players, but you have to be incredibly gifted as an athlete. You cannot be, and Tim Tebow's a good athlete.
Yeah,
but quarterback, he is not a good professional quarterback.
Like, that's why some people were saying put him at tight end or put him in another.
But
like,
he didn't want to do it.
Yeah, if he did, he probably would still play in the NFL.
He
right
probably
now.
would. Absolutely, he could. I think he could do what Gronk could do, or like someone like that. Maybe not
He's
to
the
that
size of Gronk.
Maybe not to that extreme, but like he's certainly a capable athlete.
Like he's a big dude.
And that's kind of my
put him at running back.
That's kind of my problem with McDaniels. Either he was so arrogant to think like this is going to be the guy, no matter what the.
I think he just was on the hype train.
But like even he had to see that his windup, because his throwing motion was so elongated that he couldn't make throws down the field because defenses react too quickly. He had to see that from an evaluation standpoint as a guy who knows quarterbacks like the back of his hand. He had to know that.
I think it was more like he's a lefty. This kid's unique. He's different from the other players I've seen. He can't like just with a. I think he was like with a coaching by me, with him under my wing, I can make him into a.
And the fact of the matter is how many times does a Belichick coordinator do well as a head coach? Like never.
Well, we've seen the Lions hire one, and he didn't do very well.
But before that, let's go back further. Charlie Weiss, not good.
Nope.
Romeo Crennel, not good. McDaniels' short stint, not good. Mike Vrabel.
Jeez, I just realized all these coaches are not coaching right now. Well, not head coaches, obviously.
Well, Vrabel is, but
Vrabel is where?
The Titans.
Oh, that's right.
But still, we don't know how good he is. Like that, the jury's still out.
Yeah, well, he's just started, so it's unknown.
And now it sounds like we're going to see their defensive linebackers coach / defense coordinator, because the Patriots do things a little bit different. But Brian Flores is probably going to be the next Miami Dolphins coach, so we'll see if that works out.
Yeah, but we don't know at the time. But like, and every time they play Belichick, no one can beat him. You notice every time an old coordinator goes to him, they just can't win a game.
See, a lot of times you want the coordinator, but like, do any of these guys have what Belichick has?
Oh no, absolutely not.
Like Belichick is like a
Who would you say is the most successful one? Like, quote unquote, because none of them were actually super successful.
Charlie Weiss was somewhat successful.
I mean, how far did he got in the playoffs? I guess
he was decent at Notre Dame, and then they fired him. Right. He was okay. He was not great, that's for sure. Yeah,
there's just a lot of.
And then he coached isn't he at like Kansas right now? I don't even know where Charlie Weiss is.
Yeah, who knows where he is? He's probably somewhere in the middle of nowhere. But I think that just really stands what we said is. Honestly, I wouldn't want to hire a coordinator or an assistant coach from Belichick's staff because of their because of the record they have is god awful.
It's kind of like how there's a run on like Sean McVay coaches right now. How like a couple of these guys worked for McVay, like LaFleur, and then also who is the other one that just got hired by the Bengals? Zach Taylor.
Yeah.
So like
but I think it's one of the lines of they're on a successful staff that's playing extremely well.
Right.
Let's give him an opportunity to bring that winning ways to here.
Yeah, but like
it's
nine times out of 10, it's not the same. It's a different person.
Everyone thinks it's like, oh, that's McVay. Like he has the brain of McVay. That's not true at all.
Yeah.
There's coaches when you hire assistant coaches from winning programs, 9 times out of 10, like you said, it doesn't work because of the fact that they think they're getting that coach at a bargain price. Mm-hmm. That's not what it is.
So, early on in this game, it was 7-7. Keenan Allen on that touchdown pass from Rivers.
As soon as Keenan Allen looked untouched, he juked out Stephon Gilmore. And we talked about how Gilmore was going to cover Keenan Allen like crazy that entire game and keep him from doing stuff like that. And after that touchdown, Keenan Allen was non-existent. Gilmore stepped up.
The Patriots went to score 31 points in a row.
Isn't that incredible? After that 7-10, I'm like, okay, we're about to see a good matchup. All right, they scored a touchdown. It's time for the Chargers to score a touchdown. Then they didn't. Then the Patriots scored another one. And another
one. The Patriots' defensive line dominated that game, too. Only 2 sacks, but that doesn't tell the story because Rivers was constantly being hit.
He was scrambling all over the place.
He was constantly whining and complaining.
He was PO'd. And the fact is, how many times did he throw that ball away?
A ton.
He threw the ball more times out of bounds than he threw it to a player.
He dropped back 51 times. He completed 25. He threw the ball away probably 10 times.
That's absurd, though. That's a lot of times. Usually
Brady
it's like 2 or 3.
Brady was 34 of 44 for 343 and a touchdown.
Shocker that he played amazing.
Sonny Michel had a big game, too. Melvin Gordon didn't do anything.
Melvin Gordon was non-existent.
9 for 15.
That's not how you're supposed to do. We call him an elite running back. I might have to revoke his...
I don't really.
Oh, I was saying some people do.
He puts up big numbers,
yeah. Yeah, and I'm gonna revoke that elite from that description. I think everyone's going to after that, but it's really disappointment from this Chargers team who had an amazing season. And if it wasn't for the Chiefs being in their same division, they would have a first round bye themselves.
I saw Tom Brady's post game comments. I felt like he was speaking to you directly.
To me?
Yeah, because he's like, everybody thinks we suck.
I never said they suck.
Yeah, but you're like, this is the most underwhelming Patriots
That's
team.
a fact, and you know it.
You called a blowout win by the Chargers. He was speaking directly to you. I think he even said Jeff. He was like, Jeff.
I'm sure he said, yeah, I'm sure he listens to
He was like, Jeff out in California, you're an idiot. Look, I'm Tom Brady.
Okay, that's a little harsh.
He's like, look, I'm Tom Brady.
Don't call me an idiot. That's a little much.
No, I said he called you that.
Yeah, but you're using... He didn't actually say that.
No, he said it. I heard him say it.
Yeah, I don't believe you.
We can run the audio back later on, but he said it. He was like, look, you
would text me right away.
He said, don't you ever tell us that we're not good, that we're going to get blown out at home to Phillip Rivers. We're going to get blown out at home in the playoffs to Phillip Rivers.
I still believe the Chargers were the better team, but just...
They're not the better team, though. They're not. They're just absolutely not the better team.
One game doesn't define it to see the whole season how they've been playing, but it really showed the fact that the Patriots just had a better game plan.
Yeah.
They were ready to play, and the Chargers, I think, came in a little bit arrogant.
Coaching is, undeniably incredibly important in the NFL, and Anthony Lynn could not even be on Belichick's coaching staff. That's how big of the difference is. This guy actually waltzed into Foxborough and thought that they were going to win with the same defense that they beat Lamar Jackson with. You were not playing Lamar Jackson yesterday.
Yeah.
Not even close. But it was a big win.
But an amazing season by the Chargers.
Absolutely. They had a great season. But
and like I said before.
Questions remain for them, though, right?
Can
they get over the hump? We already knew they had a good team.
Well, let me ask you this. If they had the first-round bye, if the Chiefs were not in the division, it was the Chiefs and the Chargers' first-round bye, would that be a bigger difference? I think so.
I think that the Chargers would have lost to the Patriots no matter where they played yesterday.
You think so?
I do think it helps playing at home for sure. But what we saw, I don't think Anthony Lynn would have coached better anywhere else. You know what I mean? The game plan was terrible. The Patriots, they could have scored 60 points. This game was on track at halftime to be the biggest blowout in NFL postseason history. Of course they stopped scoring points. They started running the ball. It was a lot like the Chiefs game. They didn't have to keep scoring. Man, what did they score at halftime? Wasn't it 35? Yeah, and if they would have, the Patriots kind of screwed up for not getting more points at the end of the half too, and the clock ran out on them. They could have had another field goal. It could have been 38 at halftime.
What was the over/under?
The over/under was, I believe, 51 points, and they almost hit it in the first half.
The Patriots single-handedly almost hit it, too.
It was 49-51, somewhere in that area.
Yeah, it was an absurd game. And again, we talk about this. That's every game this postseason has been a blowout.
A lot of them, yeah.
Except for one, which we'll talk about later. But going into that Saturday, after Saturday, we're all these games were blowouts. Not one of these games have been entertaining last-second efforts to watch.
Yep.
But
we probably need to go to a break.
We do need to go to a break. And when we get back, we'll talk about the NFC divisional round games, the Saints and the Eagles, as well as the Rams. And who do they play? I know this. I can't think of the name right now because I'm completely blanking.
The Rams beat Dallas.
Right. They showed up. No, wait. No, they didn't. Get it? Anyways, we'll be right back right after this.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We just finished talking about the AFC divisional round matchups that happened. We had the Chiefs and Patriots in the AFC Championship game, which we will preview on Friday before the games. Now we move on to the NFC divisional round matchups. We'll first go with the earlier game between the Rams and the Cowboys. This game was a little closer than I anticipated, but it turned out to be a huge running game for C.J. Anderson and Todd Gurley, both combined for over 100 yards, over 200 yards. They both rushed for C.J. Anderson actually rushed more than Gurley did, 123 to his 115 on 23 attempts to Gurley's 16 attempts. But obviously, this game ended by a running game superior by the Rams.
Yep, and it was interesting because going into the game, the Rams defense was giving up over 5 yards per carry. So we thought the Cowboys running game would be able to have success and hold on to the football, maybe keep the Rams offense off the field, but it was actually the opposite. The Cowboys, Ezekiel Elliott was stopped, 20 carries, 47 yards. I mean, not a good day at all for him. He did have a touchdown, but still not effective consistently running the ball. He only had 2 receptions. And you look at the other side, the Rams, I mean, they ran for 273 yards on the ground. That's like a
insane.
college team.
Yeah. And against a defense that's pretty darn good.
Yeah. Cowboys were 5th in run defense coming into the game.
Yeah.
They had just stopped, at least limited a Seattle rushing attack.
Nick Vay is becoming this amazing coach. He's one of the, I would say, top 3 coaches in the league. Is that good enough to say?
I mean,
hard to deny that.
He's got the hype right now. All these other teams are looking for the next Sean McVay, but we'll know more here in about a week.
His second season?
Mm-hmm. Is it? Yeah.
Was last year his rookie season?
Yes, it was.
And they again had 11-5.
We'll see about it because ultimately in football and in sports in general, you're judged by your wins and losses. If they lose next week, maybe we pump the brakes on if he's one of the top 2 or 3 coaches.
Okay.
If he wins, maybe we ascend him to the top there, close to the top. But in this game, certainly the Rams outcoached Dallas. I don't think that's even close. And for fans who don't think that Jason Garrett is cut out for this,
well,
I think
they've
got
been
it.
talking about an extension for him, to be honest.
But for people who think that Jason Garrett's not cut out for this or not good enough, this gives him a lot of ammo.
Yeah. And when you're looking at how well the Rams played, the score really doesn't justify how dominant the Rams were in this game. I mean, it was 30-22, but honestly, it was all Rams this game.
It was all Rams.
Yeah.
Jared Goff sealed the game with that bootleg on third down.
Yeah.
Cowboys couldn't get the ball back.
The Cowboys made a kind of a comeback, but it was not as much as you think.
Does C.J. Anderson's success put a dent into Todd Gurley a little bit?
Yeah.
Like, we talked about Gurley being a possible MVP candidate this year when he's had great season. He's had great numbers. But the emergence of C.J. Anderson, where in a game where Gurley wasn't 100%, C.J. Anderson wasn't getting touched till 5-6 yards down the field most carries. I mean, he was having he had one of his best games of his career. C.J. Anderson. Isn't that crazy to think about?
Yeah.
A guy who's had some success in this league.
Yeah, and he was kind of gone from the NFL for a good bit before being signed.
He was on the Panthers this year, too, and couldn't really get any play, and they cut him because he was getting like 1 or 2 touches a game behind McCaffrey.
And now he got 23 this game, and
I am concerned, though, about Gurley because he had, 3 games to get ready for this weekend, and he still wasn't healthy.
Well, I think this was more along lines of, like, how well CJ's been playing. Let's ride him some more and not put Gurley at risk. I mean, he did.
But if Gurley was healthy, he would have got 30 touches this game, for sure.
But he still got 16 carries and over 100 yards.
Yeah. I mean, he played, I saw the number, he was in on 40% of the snaps, so CJ was in on more. I mean, obviously, he's not fully healthy. Like, they didn't just play CJ Anderson because he was doing well. They played CJ Anderson because Gurley wasn't 100%. But it was interesting to see how another running back could have pretty much the same success.
Yeah, and this just shows that this Rams team, like, this team can win the Super Bowl. I think we could both obviously say that. But, like,
they could do it. I have them as the worst odds of the 4 teams left to win, but they could.
But if they win, it's, like, not surprising. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where, like, I don't see, like, even though they're good, I don't see them making it. But it's like this team, if anyone could beat the Saints, it's the Rams for sure. And last time they played the Saints the last time the Rams played the Chiefs was a huge game. And this game, the Saints beat the Rams last time they played each other. So I guess would that be on your mind going into this game if you're the Rams? Because they ended their undefeated streak.
So the Saints won that game. It was a good game. It was fun.
I'll look up the score of that game.
I think it was a 10-point game. I want to say it was like 41-31 or something.
Do you remember what
Maybe
week it was?
It was in the middle.
They were 8-0 versus 7 and
so like week 9 or 10.
Yeah. It was 45-35 victory for the Saints.
Yeah, in that game, Cooper Kupp played for the Rams, and he's been a big loss. I know the Rams are winning right now. They are 1 game away from the Super Bowl, but his presence makes that offense just a little bit different.
Goff had a better game, almost a better game than Breeze. He had 391 yards to Breeze 346, but Breeze threw for 4 touchdowns, and he threw for 3 and 1 pick. And Gurley wasn't that big of a factor. 13 attempts for 68 yards. So
the Saints' run defense can do some things.
But they didn't have C.J. Anderson. Maybe that will play a factor. Who knows?
Yeah. I don't think C.J. will be able to do that. I mean, let's be honest. C.J. Anderson was so good this weekend, not really because of C.J. Anderson. It was more because
he played good. He played good before that game, too.
I mean, he's had a couple of good games, but it's the system is what I'm getting at. Like, let's not get it twisted. Like, C.J. Anderson didn't find the fountain of youth, you know. That zone run off of that play-action pass has dominated, and that's kind of the staple of a Sean McVay offense. Very nice win for the Rams. For the Cowboys, I don't know. I kind of feel like that's what I expected. I mean, I expect them to run the ball a little bit better, but at the end of the day, they were always going to make Dak beat them. And it was hard to go on the road even though it wasn't a tough road environment, but it's always tougher to play somewhere else and put up big numbers. I mean, Dak didn't – I don't think he lost them the game by any means, but I don't know if he's a quarterback that can win those games either.
That is the age-old question, huh? Can he win? Well, he's still a young quarterback, but the question of can he win the big one is still a question need to be asked.
The thing is about football, about the NFL, is that it doesn't matter how good your defense is. At some point in the playoffs, you're going to have to win. Like, you're going to have to win a shootout. You're going to have to win a 41-38
so
game.
They relied too much on the
it's just one of those things. I mean, how many times have we seen in the past where a defense is really good, but in the playoffs or in like a Super Bowl or something, a crazy game happens. Like a crazy game happens, and the fact is that you're usually playing an offense that can score a lot of points as well. I mean, look at the 4 teams that are playing in the championship games this week. Look at all 4 of them. What do they have in common?
They're all the 1 or 2 seed.
Yeah, and they're more offensive oriented than defense. Like they all can score 40 points in a game, all of them.
But you know who has the key factor in this is the Saints have the better defense of all 4.
That's probably true.
Well, I would say the Rams have a closer defense, but I would not put the Chiefs or the Patriots defense close to those two.
But the Chiefs and the Patriots defense
have been playing well. I will give you that. But they weren't playing these offenses quite like what they're about to face next week.
Well,
is that debatable, or do you think that you agree with that?
I see what you're saying, but the Patriots defense just dominated a Chargers offense who I'm not saying the Chargers are as good as the Chiefs, but they got to be near. They got to be like top 5.
They were 12-4 just like the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs and the Chargers both have top 5. Now, I mean, obviously I think Mahomes is a little bit more dynamic than Rivers, but they still have really good offenses.
Let me ask you something about Patrick Mahomes. Do you think he could keep this up for like seasons on seasons to come, like a Peyton Manning or a Drew Brees, or do you think this was like maybe a one and done type
I think
of
he
year?
can because he doesn't. He is super athletic, but he doesn't rely on his athleticism just to win. He does it from the pocket, but at any time he can run.
Mm-hmm. This is his first season.
He doesn't rely on his legs to make him successful.
Mm-hmm. But the question is, like, once they have tape on him for next season and they have an entire year to look at him and prepare,
they can
look at all
the tape that they want. I'm sure he'll have games where he struggles. But the fact is, if you're going to construct a perfect quarterback, wouldn't it kind of be Patrick Mahomes?
No, I wouldn't give him that hair.
And
I wouldn't have him put ketchup on everything.
Other than that, though, you got the cannon arm.
Oh, intangibles in the actual sport? Absolutely.
He's got a cannon arm. He's got elite running ability. Is he the fastest running back or quarterback? No. But is he up there? Yes. You know, like top 5? Absolutely. Accurate? Yes. Can make every throw? Yes. I mean, there's just nothing that you can say about him that hasn't been spot on. He seems to understand protections. He seems to understand when audible and things like that. So he has it down.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about the last game? We haven't really touched it. The Saints and the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes.
The one game that we can say came down to a last drive. Like, it came down to it.
A heartbreaking drive, for sure.
Alshon Jeffrey, unfortunately,
let
the ball go through his hands. Marshawn Lattimore is a beneficiary of the interception. The Saints win ugly, 20-14. What's your first reaction to that?
First,
You thought the Eagles were going to win, huh, early?
Not really, because I saw the Saints kind of running away with it at one point. But then the Eagles came back a little bit. Or, I'm sorry, I swapped that.
Yes, the Eagles
were jumped up, and I was like, are you kidding me? Another blowout? And then the Saints came back. If anyone's going to come back, it was going to be Drew Brees.
I'm not going to lie. Even when it was 14-0, I knew the Saints were going to win.
When I saw 14-0, but the first play of the game was an interception.
Mm-hmm.
That got me a little like, oh, we might have.
Yeah, that was weird because Brees had Ginn open for a touchdown. He just underthrew him big time.
Oh yeah, it was a bad pass, and that is a factor, of course, in what the outcome.
Nick Foles had a rough game. He started off strong, and then he had 60 yards passing in the second half. Something really low.
He did not really show up for the second half. and that was the beginning of the end, really.
Michael Thomas, I think, stole the show. The guy was everywhere.
Yeah.
He had 171 yards on 12 receptions and a touchdown.
Like, he couldn't be stopped. You
How
got
many
shot
times
on
did
the
he
leg.
run? How many times did he run like that deep in and every time, boom, 15
Like
yards,
every
boom,
other play,
17, boom, 20.
Whenever they needed a first down, he basically did that play.
Did you see Kamara and Ingram wearing the ski masks after
That
the game?
was pretty good. I enjoyed that. I was like, oh, I get it.
I like this banter back and forth. How about the Marcus Peters-Sean Payton rivalry, part 2?
It's pretty...
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
When Marcus Peters said that he liked all that crap that Sean Payton was talking about and that he can't wait to see him again next time. And, well, this week is next time.
It is next
He said
time.
they're going to have a nice big old bowl of gumbo together.
Oh, he said like, didn't he say he was going to punch his throne or something like that?
No, he said, I can't wait to see him. We're going to have a big old bowl of gumbo together. But Sean Payton was an ass after that first game. Like that, he for sure, when he said, we knew they were going to shadow Michael Thomas with Marcus Peters, and that was a matchup we really, really liked. Like, you knew what he was saying.
That was a
He was
cocky
saying,
move to make.
He was saying, you're not very good, and we're going to take advantage of that.
So Marcus Peters has a lot to prove, is what's going on.
I would say so.
Yeah. If he gets an interception off Michael Thomas, that would be like the sweetest thing he could possibly get through this game.
So, Philly, it looks like Nick Foles' era is over. Don't see really how they can keep him. It kind of seems like all signs are pointing to him leaving anyways, but they don't have any money.
We have no idea what's going to happen.
They can't even franchise him at this point.
There are people saying trade Wentz and keep Foles.
Yeah, that's not happening.
I'm not going to say it's not going to happen.
I will say.
I'm not going to leave
Let's
it out
just
of...
end it right there.
Wow, you really think you're just going to...
They're not trading the guy who they traded a lot for.
There's been some crazier things happen. I'm not leaving the option out.
No, 0%.
Wow.
Can't even be entertained.
Little less optimistic, obviously.
Nick Foles will not be an Eagle next year. No question. What will he be traded? He could, but they'd have to franchise tag him, and at this point, they'd have to cut a lot of players on their team to make that happen. So you'd basically have to get rid of players just to keep a guy to trade him. I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, you say no percent. I'm going to say at least 5. You think that's even high? Okay, you can't just shake your head. You got to tell the people.
There's no chance that they keep Nick Foles over Carson Wentz.
I love you try to shake your head like people would know what you're saying. Like, no one can see you.
Nick Foles had an incredible Super Bowl run where he won 3 games. And then he had a good run this year, ultimately ends. Is he a good player? Absolutely. But, hey, Carson Wentz is your franchise, so... I think we got to go to a break, though.
Yeah, when we come back, we'll talk about the NBA. We'll do some bits and pieces there, and we'll see you right after this.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back, everyone, to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We just finished talking about the NFL playoffs and who's going to be in the AFC and NFC title games. Now we're moving on to the NBA. And, well, during the break, we were talking about the Lakers, so we should start with them, huh?
Yeah, the Lakers are not a good basketball team without LeBron James. They just aren't. They're 3-7 without him, and they've lost. 2 of those losses are home against the Knicks and home against the Cavaliers, 2 of the bottom 5 teams in the NBA.
Yeah.
You got to win those games.
And last night was the Cavs' first win since
like
December 18th.
Yeah, it was like 9 in a row, 9 games or something like that.
I believe it was 12.
Some crazy number.
It was a number that shouldn't be.
I don't know if it was that big, but it was. They were on an 8 or 9 game losing streak.
I thought I read it as 12. I could be wrong, but I thought I read it as 12.
But the crazy thing is that the Lakers were never winning this game. I watched it from end to end. They might have had the lead in the first quarter briefly, but they were losing before halftime. They were losing at halftime. They were losing They didn't get the lead in the third, the fourth, nothing. They were dominated. In fact, the game was closer at the end. Cleveland Cavaliers made some mistakes to let the Lakers get back into it. Nobody's shocked by that. But, man, you think LeBron is just like, he was already frustrated earlier in the year. How frustrated is he?
Oh, I'm like, did I make the right decision going to LA? Obviously, he didn't go to LA for the team. He went there for his.
If I'm him,
popularity.
I gotta think like, man, I need a trade like ASAP. I need us to make a trade to bring in a star ASAP because I can't do it with these kids right now. I can't do it.
Or he says, I'm just gonna get asked to be released and go to somewhere else.
Yeah,
go to the Clippers. But honestly, like he obviously went there for the Hollywood type of scenario.
I mean, the Lakers had a nice young team. Like they had some interesting pieces. I mean, yeah, he went to LA because it's LA, but like you had Kuzma, you had Ingram, you had Lonzo Ball. Those are 3 draft picks that have promising careers ahead of them.
I mean, Kuzma did have 29 points.
Kuzma played very well. Ingram and Ball had another Ingram and Ball game where I know that Luke Walton has called them out before. A couple weeks ago, he called them out and said, we need more urgency from you guys. We need you guys to step up. And we saw it again last night where they just don't bring it all the time.
Ball did almost have a triple-double. He had a 13-8-8 game, but again, 13 for a point guard and only 8 assists is not what you want from a point guard.
And he, at times, was getting dominated by his opposing point guard on the other team, Colin Sexton. He had a good game, and he had a good game in the second half where Lonzo's got to just be a little bit better, man. He was the number 2 pick in the draft. Like, he just has to be a little bit better.
This might be early to say. Do you see bust written on him?
I know
it's too early.
I wouldn't say bust because bust says that you are not good. I'm not saying Lonzo Ball can't be good. We see every other game where he's a decent player.
You see him as an average player?
Until he can shoot well, I don't see him better than what he is now.
Yeah.
He's got to be able to shoot better. You can't.
Yeah.
How many players in the NBA now can be good without scoring? Like, who are they? Who are the best NBA players who are good without putting the ball in the hoop?
Rondo? Would you put Rondo up there?
No. Rondo used to be really good.
He averaged like at one point I think he averaged like an 18 assist a game, something ridiculous to that matter.
Rondo also puts up a lot of phony stats though. Like he's a guy that has the ball the entire time that he's in the game, and yeah, he's going to get assists because he's dribbling around. He also gets a lot of rebounds too because he leaves his responsibility at times on defense, and he goes hunting for those rebounds, which look good in the box score, but maybe not in real life.
Yeah.
But again, like who in the NBA is good without scoring? Like there's really nobody. Yeah. Jason Kidd is a thing of the past.
Mm-hmm. Currently, right now, it's really hard to say because when you think of a good player, you think of scoring. You don't think of.
I just think it's the era. Like, look at the scores of the league. Like every game is like 110.
They're getting absurdly high.
So if you're not scoring, if you can't provide value there, like
it's like watching. Like watching the All-Star game where they don't play defense at all. It's kind of like that almost.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a lot of good defensive players. Don't get me wrong, but defense feels like almost secondary now. It's like it's optional.
Mm-hmm.
Scoring
but
is a necessity.
Ingram and Ball, they just got to be a little bit better.
I mean, look at
They gotta be a
look at the
bit
potential MVP in James Harden. Does he play defense? No. And
he blocks the ball with his face sometimes.
One time. But what I'm saying is like the lack of effort on the defensive side, not just on him, but just on a lot of players in the NBA, is kind of frustrating to watch.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's just a scoring league. I mean, the 3-point shot. It's more the 3-point shot than the lack of defense. It's just everybody can shoot now.
And now
that's the problem. That's what I was going back to about Lonzo. Everybody can shoot. If your center can shoot better than your point guard, that's a problem.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of where we are with Lonzo. His shot's inconsistent. Some nights he has it. Last night he was 5 of 14. That's not the worst, but again, that's a normal Lonzo ball shooting night, which is not good. He had 41 minutes, 5 of 14, 13 points. Yes, 8 assists. That's nice. 8 rebounds. That's nice. But if you can't at least be a threat to score, it's going to be hard for your team to win.
Yeah, and what the fact of the matter is, this Lakers team it's like we've joked around saying the LA LeBrons. It's the LA LeBrons.
It's the LeBrons, yeah, absolutely.
They're
3-7 without LeBron, and they've lost 2 of those 7 to 2 of the worst teams.
He's been out for a while now, hasn't he?
Like, how hard is it, honestly? How hard is it to lose to the Knicks and to the Cavs at home?
It's pretty hard.
Like, you really have to try to lose both those games, right?
Well, what were they like last year? They were pretty bad last year. They were doing all right.
The Lakers?
Yeah, they were all right.
They won almost 40 games.
But then you look at their flaws.
They had a good season considering they were a very young basketball team.
But without LeBron, you see a lot of their flaws. Mm-hmm. Like, it's gone to the point where they just took LeBron for granted as soon as they got him.
Did you see Harden broke NBA record last night?
What was
for most misses from the 3-point line in the game? He had 16. He had 17 attempts. He had 16 misses. 1 of 17 shooting.
That is, and they lost because of that mainly.
They did lose.
They lost to, who was it?
Magic.
They lost to the Magic, and Magic are not a very good team.
Nope.
They lost 116 to 109, and Harden still had 38 points, even going 1 of 17 from 3-point land.
Which is incredible. It really speaks to how many times he gets to the free throw line, that's for sure.
16 times. And do you think, like, I've been hearing people say that's favoritism just by the refs because he's an MVP.
He's really good at drawing fouls.
Yeah. He's a flop. Would you say he's a flopper? I would say so.
I mean,
he's a good actor.
A lot of people are, though.
Yeah, but he's pretty good. And, making 16 points, 15 points from the line. He made 38 points. That's almost half of your points from the line. Going 11 of 32 total.
He actually tied Kobe's streak.
Free throws or misses?
Let me see here. Oh, for the 30 points, that's what it was. He's now had 30 points. Let's see how many times. I know he tied the record. 16. 16th straight game where he scored at least 30 points.
Well, when you get on the line that much and you get 32 opportunities to shoot the ball, you should be getting that much.
But he doesn't really flop. Like, he flops, yes, but, like, it's not like every time he's getting fouled, he's flopping.
Oh, no, I didn't
draws
say
fouls.
that.
Like, he knows when you are lazy defending, he'll get you a foul.
I wasn't saying he's like the biggest flopper in the NBA or anything, not by a long shot, but I'm saying he knows how to play it on, though, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact is, but if you're just going, like, 1 of 17, when did he make his first three? Was it, like, one of his first threes made?
No. I'm trying to remember when it was, but he had, like, 11 or 12 misses in a row.
Shouldn't you stop?
Nah, shoot.
But
shoot.
I know sometimes, I know he shoots getting out of hot streaks, or getting out of cold streaks, I get that. But you miss 11 3-pointers. Oh, maybe give someone else an opportunity.
Yeah.
Because the other 3-point attempts, there was P.J. Tucker went 0 for 4. Austin Rivers went 4 for 7. Why not give him the ball?
Come on, man. It's James Harden.
I know.
He's going to shoot the ball
it's just
as
like,
much as he can.
If you're a coach, I think it's frustrating when you see a guy shoot 11 for threes and miss them all, and you're like, pass the beeping ball.
Well, I would agree with that, but I mean, he still scored 38 points. On
I'm not
32 shots, no, that's not the greatest night, but at least it's not a terrible night, all things considering. It is a lot of shots, but it is over a point per shot.
But one stat line puts that above the 38 points, I believe, and that's 1 of 17 from the 3-point line.
Yeah.
I think that shadows it, right?
He had a tough night.
And I hate to be negative, but I'm just like trying to name the facts here.
Yeah, but I mean, it's Harden. Like he's going to have these games.
He's still a top 5 player in the NBA, no question asked, no questions about that. It just, I think he needs to rely more on his teammates.
I mean, I see what you're saying, but he's on an incredible streak right now. He's about to set that record for most. If he gets over 30, he's going to set the NBA
All I say
record.
is there's no iron team. That's all I'm going to say about it. But moving on to another team that's actually playing really well, the Bucks beat the Hawks 133-114, and like you were talking about, that wasn't even overtime, and they scored 133 points. And 33 of those points for
I saw Giannis hit a 3. He was wide open, but
he did go 1 of 3 from the 3-point line. He had a better 3-point percentage than Harden.
Yeah.
He did
probably
also
would have had the same amount of makes if he
did
tried
also have
17
19 free throws attempts, made 14 of them. So I think he needs to work on some of those free throws. If you miss 5 of them, I think that's a lot. Mm-hmm. And by the way, 33 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Like 6 rebounds is not the best for your center, but 33 points, nonetheless, he's still up there for MVP. No question about it. He's still a dominant offensive player.
I saw Kyrie Irving is a little upset with the Celtics. He kind of called out his team after their last loss. Mm-hmm. So they need to be better. They can't accept being the 5th seed. That just a lot of frustrations have been growing.
Do you see the Bucks or the Raptors taking the 1st seed in the East by playoff time?
Probably the Bucks, but I don't know. They're both right there.
Did you see? Sorry to interrupt, but did you see the Wizards timeout show with the kid driving the little RV, the toy car, and running over? He ran over people.
That's awesome. During
the halftime, he it was out of control and just ran over a dude, and he ran over the lady doing commentary or talking like the hype lady, like, oh, and there he goes. He ran over her too. He ran over 2 people.
So Nick Collison's number is going to be retired.
I feel like he was playing Grand Theft Auto.
I didn't see it. I'll have to check it out. Nick Collison's
I'll show you it.
Number is going to be retired. You're not a fan of that, right?
What I understand, he played for like a billion years for the Thunder, and he was like, but what other significance does he have for that team?
Nothing. Just he was a solid team player for that.
My rule is you have to have an impact on the team, and people have to remember you're like, oh, I love that guy back when he played for us.
Well, I mean, he is a fan favorite. But was he Harden or Harden, Westbrook, or Durant?
Look at who? Let's see another team numbered retired. I can't think of one off the top of my head. Like Dwayne Wade getting his number retired. He played for just as long with the Heat, and I know he went to other places, then came back. But fact is,
he was a star.
He was a star. I feel like you're, and then O'Neal even got his number retired. He was there briefly for the Heat, and yet he helped that team win a championship. It's all about the impact. Did he help win a championship? No. Did he lead the team in scoring? No. I'm sorry. I just don't see why he gets his number retired. And people from Oklahoma City, please, if you have a reason, I'm sure he did some exciting things in his
He's just a good all-around player. Played tough, played defense.
I'm not telling you how good he played. I'm just saying,
rebounded.
A number retired is a big honor, and be the first guy in this franchise, well, quote-unquote.
Oklahoma City franchise.
Yeah, to be retired. You gotta. I think
they're just honoring his impact, on the team, on the city. He was always a good servant for the team. I guess you could say. Yeah, a servant. I don't know.
I don't think that's a good way to put it.
No, I'm not. You're thinking something way different. I'm saying he served the team very well.
Mm-hmm. Just how you said it.
A servant of the franchise. That's exactly what he was. That's what he's being recognized for. Mm-hmm. He wasn't a star. He was a solid player, did the dirty work, and a fan favorite.
And
so if he's a fan favorite, I don't know.
If the fans support it, then fine. But me personally, maybe it should be when Russell Westbrook retires.
I'm sure he'll get his number retired too.
Oh, 100%. I don't.
You don't have to have one or the other though.
Do you think? But the question is, do you think Durant will?
By the Thunder, probably.
It's got to be a long time though. Got to be forgetful of what he did.
He was there for quite some time. So
yes, but
8 or 9 years.
How he left was not the best. And who he left to was the worst thing.
That's true.
if your favorite team, like if your favorite team's the Thunder, you lost to the Warriors, like, oh man, we're gonna get him back next year. Durant's gonna resign, and then he signs with the Warriors. That's like the biggest insult, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be a while until he gets his number retired.
So Manny Machado has an 8-year offer on the table from the White Sox. We do not know how much it is, but we know that he has a offer on the table.
Yeah, 8 years, X amount of money. Which, if we had to guess, I would say $350.
Yep.
It'll probably be at least one of the highest, maybe the highest contract offer.
Yeah.
He'd probably be the highest paid guy in the MLB. Excuse me. So we will see where he goes. Obviously, now Chicago is in the driver's seat because they offered him the contract, 8-year deal.
Yeah.
So we will see what happens. But that is all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. We'll talk more about, anything else in the world of sports, mainly NBA and other things in that nature. Maybe even some new head coaching opportunities for OCs and new offensive coordinators and new defensive coordinators being signed by various NFL teams. But until then, we will see you next time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.